Post-humanism and Soma technologies, exploring the intimate relations between humans and technologies. With the advent of technoscience, or rather the convergence of nanotechnology, biotechnology, information and communication technology, and the cognitive sciences, the ability to re-engineer and redesign bodies and life itself and vitalize technology has gained momentum. In the meantime, dreams of a second genesis have flourished and found incarnation in the figure of the post-human. Whether or not these technological developments are to engender Homo sapiens 2.0 as the next man-made evolutionary step or to lead to a post-human future, the converging technologies appear to challenge what it means to be human. The discussion about the future of humanity has come to be centered on the prospect of quote-unquote human enhancement. Hopeful promises and fearful scenarios bring Prometheus and Frankenstein's creature to life again, haunting the discussions regarding the societal, political, and ethical implications of NBIC technologies. The discussion about human enhancement has indeed developed into a very polarized debate, with fervent defendants and vehement opponents of the ambition to enhance humans into post-human beings. Post-humanism is a disputed field. The convergence of nanotechnology, biotechnology, information and communication technology, and the cognitive sciences has tended to crystallize into the issue of human enhancement and the opposition between so-called transhumanists and bioconservatives, or bio-Luddites, over the latter's desirability. In these utopian versus dystopian visions of the future of humanity, the post-human has become an infamous figure, one that has coalesced in transhumanist plea for a post-human future as the improved and perfect successor human being, and in the bioconservative lamentations over the violation of human nature as the debasement of humanity. To develop a post-humanist conceptualization of the ever more intimate relations between humans and technologies is a complicated task, though, as an exploration of post-humanist approaches and philosophical anthropology will reveal. In order to apprehend the relations that putatively enhancement technologies initiate with human beings, and the ways in which humans are transformed with/in these technologies, I propose and elaborate the concept of soma technology as a post-humanist heuristic tool. The intimate relations between bodies and technologies on the one hand, and the bodies that materialize, come to exist in matter as human, with/in enhancement technologies on the other, are the central foci of this heuristic device. Chapter 1: The Journey Towards Post-Humanity, Mapping the Field of Human Enhancement. As nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, and the cognitive sciences have been gaining momentum, issues concerning their implications on society and what it means to be human have emerged. Yet, as previously said, they have tended to crystallize into the endeavor of human enhancement, the latter referring to the technological improvement of human beings, or, as the Science and Technology Options Assessment of the European Parliament defines it, to, quote, any modification aimed at improving individual human performance and brought about by science-based or technology-based intervention in the human body. Bodies, technologies, and the human are therefore central categories in the concept of human enhancement. What are the technologies and the human that inhabit, inform, and constitute human enhancement? How are the technologies deemed to reconfigure bodies, and what it means to be human? How do they feature and have been conceptualized in the human enhancement debate? Human enhancement and the prospect of a post-human future has indeed become the object of a heated debate, one that has developed into an opposition between two apparently irreconcilable positions. Transhumanism, on the one hand, that defends the idea that we should aim to overcome the limitations of the human and evolve towards a post-human being, and bioconservatism, on the other hand, that fiercely oppose human enhancement in the name of human nature. In this discussion, however, many crucial dimensions of the relations between human beings and technology are neglected, omitted, or silenced. If enhancement technologies are assumed to be dramatically challenging, revolutionizing even, for human beings, the very relations between humans and technologies and the emergence of new configurations are ignored. Rather, a specific and exclusive conception of the human informs the transhumanist and bioconservative understandings of human enhancement. It is the modern liberal humanist subject, namely, man, the bounded, autonomous, and uncreated creator who uses technological artifacts but remains hermetically separated from them, that is safeguarded and consecrated in this debate. Posthumanism becomes hyperhumanism. Here they talk about human enhancement and the post-human. And here is a wonderful table. History of some very significant augmentations to human performance. And here you have all the generations and the several key advancements. We start with cell, body, and brain development. Then we have Stone Age. We have Homo sapiens, universities, printing, Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, telephones, radio, TV, computers, microbiology, and the internet. Reaching at the building blocks of matter, your nanoscience, biotechnology products, global connection via the internet, GPS/sensors for navigation. Then we move into unifying science and converging technologies from the nanoscale, nanotechnology products, improving human performance advancements, and global education and information infrastructure. Then we move into the first generation, which is converging technology products for improving human physical and mental performance. New products and services like brain connectivity, sensory abilities, etc., societal and business reorganization. And then we look at the last generation, which is evolution transcending human cells, body, and brain, with a question mark. Technologies of enhancement technologies. In the journey towards post-humanity, technologies are key. The post-human relies upon specific technologies, and their expected, at times highly speculated, actions and applications. In order to discuss human enhancement and post-humanity, it is therefore necessary to have an adequate understanding of what these so-called enhancement technologies entail. In their foundational report, previously referred to as the NBIC report, enhancement technologies can be internal or external, temporary or permanent, cognitive or physical, or aiming at the individual or a collective. For instance, new agricultural products or foods, but also organizational changes, as well as the introduction of robots, virtual worlds, and wearable items are considered external because situated outside of the body, human enhancements or improvements. New ingestible medicine is, however, conceived as a temporary individual internal, that is inside the body, enhancement, while new organs, genes, and skills are considered a permanent internal improvement. Brain-to-brain interaction is viewed as enhancing, expanding human cognition and communication, while body replacements, physiological self-regulation, and life extension are regarded as improving human physical capabilities and health. Individual enhancements are those that take the human body, which includes the brain, as their point of application and/or operation, such as the improvement of spatial cognition or sensorial capacities. but other enhancements are collective or societal in their goal and implementation, such as the unification of science and education, the amplification of a networked society, the direction towards sustainable and so-called intelligent environments, as well as the enhancements regarding national security. And here they start listing all the technologies of enhancements, starting with the pharmaceuticals. Ritalin, the trademark name of methylphenidate, is a psychostimulant, more precisely, a norepinephrine dopamine reuptake inhibitor that, by its action on the central nervous system's activity, increases concentration, as well as attentiveness and alertness. While generally and rather commonly prescribed for individuals suffering from ADHD to regulate their attention and concentration deficit, Ritalin is also more and more used by healthy adults and university students in order to focus and perform quote-unquote better during exams or in writing papers. Alongside Prozac, which is fluoxetine, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, SSRI, that is widely used as an antidepressant or mood elevator, and Provigil, the trademark name of modafinil, a euagroic drug widely used as a wakefulness-promoting agent. Ritalin is one of the psychopharmacological agents that counts as cognitive enhancers. So all the prescription drugs that they be giving out to everybody are all cognitive enhancers. This is part of human augmentation and them augmenting your brain. Moving on to genetic technologies. In their classification of enhancement technologies, besides psychopharmacological and other pharmacological agents, Miller and Wilson cite pre-implementation genetic diagnosis and gene therapy, cybernetics and neural implants, nanotechnology, regenerative medicine, and finally, cosmetic surgery as the main types of enhancement technologies. Pre-implementation genetic diagnosis and gene therapy, and more generally the technology stemming from the field of genomics, with the designer baby as their herald, are the enhancement technologies that have triggered the most controversies, and more fundamentally, the debate and deadlock between bioconservatives and transhumanists, with PGD enabling the selection of embryos for or against certain genetic traits, such as cystic fibrosis, Down syndrome, and Huntington's disease. The prospect of the designer baby, soon followed by the savior, cosmetic, and disability babies, has arisen, together with the specter of eugenics. With respect to gene therapy, somatic therapy is generally demarcated from germline therapy. In the former case, the genetic modification is limited to the individual, while in the latter case, it is passed on to the individual's offspring, insofar as the alteration of one's genetic makeup is then inheritable. Germline therapy, or at least the prospect thereof, is the most controversial type of gene therapies. Cybernetic technologies. Cybernetics, understood as the alteration of mental or physical function by embedding engineering or electronic systems within the body, is also cited by Miller and Wilson as a type of enhancement technology. The research on human-computer interactions, led by Kevin Warwick at Reading University, is given by the authors as an example of cybernetic technologies. In the Cyborg 1.0 project conducted in 1998, in 1998, we're in 2025, so about 27 years ago, a silicone chip transporter, or radio frequency identification, the RFID, was implanted in Warwick's forearm. As the chip emitted a unique signal, doors would open and lights would switch as they detected Warwick's presence. The Cyborg 2.0 project started on the 14th of March, 2002, when Warwick's left arm was surgically implanted with a microelectrode array consisting of 100 electrodes. The implant could send signals back and forth between Warwick's nervous system and a computer. As a consequence, the neural interface enabled him to operate, at a distance, an electric wheelchair as well as an artificial hand. Neural implants and neural modulation in general are also included in this category. As stated by the International Neuromodulation Society, neuromodulation consists of implantable as well as non-implantable devices that deliver electrical, chemical, or other agents to reversibly modify brain and nerve cell activity. As previously mentioned, deep brain stimulation, or the electrical stimulation of parts of the brain, has become its archetype. First resorted to in the case of individuals suffering from Parkinson's disease to reduce tremor. Deep brain stimulation has become used to manage chronic pain, but also obsessive compulsive disorder and cases of major depression, arguing broader applications and the promise, feared or celebrated, of enhancement. Among these so-called cybernetic technologies, prosthetic limbs, which are seen as having improved to such a degree that they are already enabling greater than normal strength and capabilities to those who use them, sparking debate on whether athletes with those artificial limbs may participate in the Olympics. Join exoskeletons and new generation of contact lenses that have built-in electronic circuits and light-emitting diodes in their promise to enhance humans. Nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is another enhancement technology in Miller and Wilson's classification. Nanotechnology consists of the understanding and manipulation of matter at the nanoscale, that is, at the scale of 1/1010-9 of a meter. At such a scale, molecules, as well as their atoms, can be handled and controlled. Molecules, as well as atoms, can be handled and controlled. Nanotechnology enables to shape the world atom by atom, which has prompted promises and expectations about being capable of reshaping and remaking the human body at the molecular level, of endlessly curing and repairing any illness and affliction of the body. While nanotechnology is currently particularly promising as a screening and diagnostic tool, with the nanopill and other labs on a chip, it takes on a much more militarized attire in the context of human enhancement, with Miller and Wilson referring to nano devices able to destroy tumors or reconstruct cell walls. This nanotechnological form of human enhancement, together with regenerative medicine, contribute to a broader field of radical life extension, categorized as another type of enhancement technologies. And they have regenerative medicine and cosmetic surgery. Here they talk about transhumanism and human enhancement, towards the post-human, and here is a lovely tree, the pedigree of man. The hygienic/hygienist body of the post-human. The liberal humanist conception of the human as a disembodied, self-contained, and autonomous individual who is free to reason, produce true knowledge, and act in and onto the world, of which it is part, albeit in a separate yet exceptional position, especially as it uses technology to master it, already transpired in the previously introduced anthropocentric and individualistic ethos that informs the transhumanist conception of human evolution and its insistence on the individual and voluntary aspects of human enhancement, the latter amounting to the realization of individuality. It is, however, in the transhumanist conception of the body, the technologically enhanced post-human body, that the extent to which transhumanist views on the human, technology, and their relations are informed by a modern liberal humanist worldview singularity materialize. And here is your future body. You have a cyber consciousness. You have a meta brain, which has nanotech memory storage system, increased frequency range parabolic hearing, error correction and instant replay system, and network sonar sensors. In the internal layer, you have in vivo fiber optic signaling backbone, internal whole body navigational grid, No need for GPSs anymore. You have biosensors externally to stimulate atmospheric tension. You don't even have your own skin. You have nanoskin. You even have the option of picking your own gender. This is where the transgender agenda started with in the first place. They pushed a narrative to make young children believe that gender was just an option, to brainwash and manipulate young children into augmenting themselves. Over here you have replacement organs, regenerative system, and you have your external layer, which has solar protected skin, tone and texture diversity, and turbocharged suspension flexibility. I'm going to leave the link in the description for those who want to read this entire PDF file. But for now, we're going to go to ResearchGate and we're going to read the application of posthumanism in digital media visual design, Cyberpunk 2077 as an example. This paper answers the meaning of posthumanism and explains the characteristics of cyberpunk digital media style under the influence of posthumanism. Based on this, we analyze the application of this art style in games by taking Cyberpunk 2077 as an example. Finally, I will explain the value of posthumanism to modern media technology and digital culture. To explain the value of posthumanism and modern media technology and digital culture is to better convey the art of philosophy of posthumanism and the artistic attitude behind it to the public, promote the development of media technology, and further promote and expand the diversity of digital culture. I will leave the link in the description for those who want an even better understanding of posthumanism. But for now, we're going to go to Springer Link and we're going to read Posthumanism versus Transhumanism, from the end of exceptionalism to technological humanism. Posthumanism and transhumanism are often identified. However, modern researchers indicate the fundamental difference between these intellectual schools. The fundamental idea of posthumanism is the rejection of biological, ethical, and ontological anthropocentrism. Transhumanism focuses on changing and improving natural human characteristics through biological, technological, and cognitive modifications. While posthumanism draws attention to the crisis of humanism, transhumanism is the latter's heir. Scientific and ethical consequences of posthumanism, as well as the socio-cultural potential of transhumanism, are considered in this article. Posthumanism carries risks of shifting the value focus from man to other objects, which in the long term can lead to a critical decrease in the value status of man. Transhumanism has the potential to preserve man as an effective economic and cognizing agent. It is suggested that Russian society has a socio-cultural potential for moving towards technological humanism. Posthumanism deprives man of a privileged ethical, legal, and ontological status, placing him on par with other objects of the world. The conceptual foundations of posthumanism are the following: scientific discoveries that brought humans and other living beings closer together, which led to the blurring of the boundaries between them. Development of technologies, in particular artificial intelligence. Deformation of ideas about man and postmodern philosophy. The ideological foundation of posthumanism is the rejection of ethical and biological anthropocentrism. Transhumanism, in turn, has inherited the ideas of the Age of Enlightenment and focuses on man, working on a program to improve and change human characteristics through biological, technological, and cognitive modifications. While posthumanism implies a rejection of anthropocentrism, transhumanism either retains a central position for man or does not problematize man's position among other objects. Transhumanism can be viewed as a reinforcement of humanism, while posthumanism draws attention to the crisis of humanism. Transhumanism attempts at overcoming human intellectual and physical limitations, while posthumanism tries to overcome humanism. This article discusses the scientific, ethical, and metaphilosophical foundations of posthumanism, as well as the sociocultural potential of the ideas of transhumanism. Now let's keep scrolling down. Posthumanism versus transhumanism. Man not only cannot compete with machine functionality, he becomes uninteresting to himself, ceasing to be a way to expand our knowledge about the world. It is possible to return interest in man by expanding the anthropological space at the expense of man himself. In this sense, transhumanism is opposed to posthumanism. Moreover, transhumanism turns out to be a quote-unquote cure for posthumanism. Despite the active development of technologies in all areas, the technologies of potential transformation of man are developing more slowly than those that replace him functionally. This trend is associated both with the obvious fear of artificial interference in human nature and with the relative simplicity of functional substitution. However, there are risks associated with a negative change in the value status of man. They can be leveled if man replacement technologies and man transformation technologies are aligned in terms of dynamics. Fear of the artificial transformation of cognitive and biological capabilities can lead to an insurmountable value gap between man and other objects of the world, that is, to the dominance of posthumanism in the ideological space. In choosing between obscurity of transhumanism and the quote-unquote bad version of posthumanism, we should perhaps choose obscurity. If the problem is to align technologies of substitution and change, some elements of its solution can be proposed. To preserve the value of man, it is not at all necessary to simplify technologies. On the contrary, they should be made more complex. When choosing between simple technologies and complex ones, one should choose the latter. Complex technologies are understood as those that do not just perform functions, for example control, but are also sub-oriented to the priority of man as the main goal, and are complicated by the need to correspond to the environment in which man is the main goal. In other words, the digital concentration camp is too simple. Posthumanism works with man as if man is the end of the road, a dead end, from which there is only one way out, back to objects. However, is this possible if it is already clear that modern man is the beginning of a new stage of human development? Yet this stage may remain only as a potentiality if man loses his value status. At present, people are catching up with technology. Perhaps some effort should be made to reverse this trend. Accordingly, man must have the freedom to change, which is the ethical element of technological humanism. There is a lot of information here in this article, and I will leave the link in the description for those who want to keep reading. But for now, we're going to go over here and look at this article. Integrating superhumans and synthetic humans into the Internet of Things and ubiquitous computing, emerging AI applications and their relevance in the U.S. context. This paper explores the groundbreaking integration of superhuman and synthetic human technologies with the Internet of Things and ubiquitous computing, focusing on their evolving applications within the United States. As AI technology progresses, the development of superhuman abilities and synthetic humans is not only becoming a reality, but is also increasingly being incorporated into the Internet of Things and ubiquitous computing environments. See, it's already being incorporated into the Internet of Things. This integration represents a significant shift in how these technologies are applied in various sectors, including healthcare, defense, smart cities, and personalized services. Hold on. Including healthcare, defense, smart cities, and your personalized services. The research outlines the current state of AI, superhuman, and synthetic human technologies, emphasizing their potential to enhance human capabilities and create highly adaptive, responsive, and intelligent environments. We examined several case studies where these integrations have led to innovative solutions, improving efficiency, safety, and the quality of life in the US. Furthermore, we analyzed the ethical, legal, and social implications of deploying these technologies, addressing concerns about privacy, security, and the potential impact on employment and societal norms. By highlighting the benefits and challenges associated with these technological advancements, the paper aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of their significance to the U.S. It proposes a framework for responsibly navigating the future of superhumans and synthetic humans within the Internet of Things and ubiquitous computing, suggesting policy recommendations and best practices. This research contributes to the ongoing dialogue about the role of emerging technologies in shaping the future of American society and the global community at large, paving the way for a more integrated, intelligent, and human-centric technological landscape. And the key words here are integrating, superhumans, synthetic humans, Internet of Things, ubiquitous computing, emerging AI applications, relevance, and US context. I also will leave this link in the description for those who want to keep reading.